Okay, guys, today I'm going to talk about pages. Pages are the princesses. Knights are the princes. So the princesses often speak of young, feminine energy, can be inexperienced as well. But when you read card combinations, you read what the group means before you add the meaning to the cards. And the meaning of when you get a lot of pages in your reading, it is that someone is very eager to hear what you have to say. So if you're speaking an important message, there are people there that wants to hear it, and it reaches far. Often word of mouth, it can end up in the newspaper, even in the media, or definitely shared on social media. So this is a good group to get if you want to work in social media, or you're a journalist, or you have some kind of message that you need to get across. So they are the people that are listening, and they can speak of the mass consciousness of where you're living, that they're ready for the message. Because sometimes you could have a very important message, but no one's hearing it because they're asleep, or they are just not hearing it for whatever reason. And then you get no pages showing up. So if you have a strong need to communicate, and you do a layout, I'm not talking so much about just 1 card, 2 card, 3 card layout. If you do the Celtic cross, and you get a repeating number of 3, and in numerology you reduce everything to a 1 digit, so this is a world, 21, 2 plus 1 is 3. All the 3s in the Major Arcana, this is 3 of Wands, and you have the Empress is a 3, here is 3 of Cups, Hanged Man is a 3, and I'm going to talk especially about this card as well. 12, 1 plus 2 is 3. So if you get a lot of 3s in your reading, you know it's like, wow, the seeker has a lot on their mind, they need to speak it, they need to express themselves, there's a huge need to communicate. And if you get swords, you know that they know how to articulate it, it's something that they have thought about, they have studied it maybe it's controversial. This is 7 of Swords. If you get 2 of Swords, it's often something they can speak about in a very refined way. If it's 3 of Swords, it's something maybe they've gone through that is they need to speak about it to heal. Same with 9 of Swords. And so swords are, they're often a bit of a challenge in your reading, but it's something that the seeker really needs to think about. It's challenging to the seeker, but often in a very interesting way. So when you get 3 with swords, it's often that they're able to talk about something that is very important, but they do it in a very articulate and sophisticated way often. But then if you don't get the pages, it's like no one's hearing what you got to say. And let's say you get the final card is the Hanged Man. Then it's almost like everyone's asleep. No one's ready for the message. No one's ready for the truth. People rather be asleep in denial. It can also mean drugs as well. Taking drugs to numb the mind, because the truth can be blunt, it can be hurtful, and it can be frightening as well. So when you get the Hanged Man effect, people are not ready for it because it's too overwhelming. But let's say you did get 1 page, even if you only got 1, that means that someone will hear it and it will get the ball rolling, even if the final card is Hanged Man. Hanged Man also has a need to communicate. But usually they communicate something that's going to be take them further into the dream world. Maybe it is a spiritual message, but it's often they also often want to hide from the harsher truths sometimes. If you get the Hanged Man reversed, it means be very careful. Hanged Man reversed means someone who's completely often stuck in a pattern that you don't want to get dragged into. Sometimes it can mean someone who has something wrong with their personality. You're not using tarot to diagnose, but it can be a warning to watch out. But it can also be someone who is using a lot of substances to just completely avoid reality, but they're sinking deeper and deeper into it. Because when the Hanged Man is hanging, it is a suspense that is that the seeker is going through as an initiation. So they're not going to be asleep forever. It's just that the truth is revealed to them slowly, because if it's revealed to them too soon, it's going to shock them too much, and they won't be able to handle it. If you get the Empress, it's kind of the same thing. Things are moving in the right direction, but it's a bit slow, because with the there's many layers that need to be uncovered first. Because if you get everything straight away, it can get overwhelming. So with the Empress also is connected to Venus, and Venus moves quite slowly. So if you know astrology, I'm not an astrologer at all, but if you know a little bit of astrology, you can also understand why it moves slowly. If you get the World, it's a completion card. It's definitely a sign that something is something is ready, something is matured. It's going to be accepted as on the group consciousness level. There's many layers to everything, and everything filters through. If you get Page of Swords, she's the most powerful page, then she can represent a niche of people or a group of people who are truth seekers. Can also speak of the seeker who is always been able to see the truth. You could work with the law of truth. It's one of the laws on the sixth plane. So the truth will always be obvious to you if you get Page of Swords. But you're also attracting in people who are very similar. And often with Page of Swords, they're very naturally gifted in quite a lot of things. So they can go in and out of almost any situation, and they're truth spreaders as well. This can also be the card for someone who works as a spy, or maybe they're undercover, or maybe they are just doing some investigative work on their own. They're just very good at digging up the truth. Page of Cups is someone who's very connected to the stars, so they're often seeking cosmic answers. They're often drawn to mysteries, but they want to understand everything deeper. They want to understand the psychological reasons. They want to understand how it's connected to the stars and the laws, and so they often have their head in a cloud. Page of Wands is someone who wants to have direct connection with spirit. So if you get this, then it's a sign that you're going to have higher dialogue. It lines up quite well with also, even though this is not an arrow, but you can take what I'm teaching you way beyond what I'm saying and even make your own system. If you get Seven of Wands, which is the card for high dialogue, and you get Page of Wands, and they'll sync up quite well. It means you are meant to communicate with your spirit team more, actually, because they will help spread the word as well and help you as well. They can help you more than you think. Page of Pentacles is often when someone buries their head in the sand a little bit. They can be victims of their own inexperience. They want the reality to be one way, and if it's not like that, they can easily become a deer in the headlight, like the last one to the party, the last one to know what's going on. That's Page of Pentacles. They like to sit a little bit on their high horse sometimes. They can have an elitist mindset, which means they might have opinions, but they don't have to live the reality of those opinions. So that sometimes they can come across as a little bit judgmental, but they're learning as well. They're learning in their own pace as well. And there is an awakening happening also in the Page of Pentacles. It's just very slow often, and they're often the last one to the party, while Page of Swords is the first one to get it. They're the first one to smell a rat. Page of Pentacles, often the last one to smell a rat. If you get pages and no threes, it can mean that there's a lot of people that wants to hear what you have to say. You might have some kind of formula or some knowledge that is very unique, and people want to hear it, but you have no desire of sharing it. You want to keep it to yourself. If you get a lot of threes with pages but no swords, it can mean that people are not grasping it, and it's not stimulating for whatever reason. Maybe it's people are needing it to be presented in a way that they're very stimulated, and when they don't get that stimuli, they lose interest, even though the subject itself could be very, very important. So then if you're presenting something and you're asking the cards, how will my presentation go, and you get pages and then you get threes but you don't get swords, then make the presentation a bit different so that people can keep up with their attention span. Three of Pentacles can mean a work environment where people are very communicative. So then if you get swords with pages, basically means a very close-knit work group where people they have a lot to say, you know, to each other, and maybe they're also friends outside of work. So it's a stimulating place to work. Maybe looking forward to go to work every day. It's like where you feel the happiest even. There's a lot of happiness in this alignment actually with pages, threes and swords. There's a lot of happiness. You feel like life is really interesting and stimulating to you and you even want to change it for the world. So Three of Cups as well, it shows up and be a very close friend group. And if you get it with work card, it means your workmates are your friends as well. So you feel like you're getting those your social needs met through your work a lot of the times, or your work stimulates your social life and it blends in together. If you get a lot of pages with threes, with swords, and especially also if you get double 10, it can mean a very public phase in your life. It can mean that you're going to become famous or reach some kind of social media stardom, or so there's a lot of attention on you. And how you're dealing with it, how you're dealing with that, that's up to you, but the card will tell you a lot more when you then go into the card meanings. Let's say the final card is Page of Pentacles, for example. It can mean that you're very convinced about something, but then you later learn that there was a lot more to it than what you realized. So you could be a little bit of a warning not to be too, don't rush to conclusion too soon when you get Page of Pentacles. But if you get Page of Swords, definitely you hit the mark when it comes to the message. You most likely have a very good argument. And if you watch my previous video about the Knights, the Knight of Swords can mean that you're actually having the smoking gun argument with you. So when they come together, it can mean that as well. I always read card combinations first and then card meanings afterwards. Alright guys, and I'm going to start doing card combination videos, so just a few examples what things can mean. Any suggestion or any difficult card combinations that you have come across, let me know and I'll talk about them. Bye!